built your reputation on precision and expertise. Now let your website reflect it. Introducing SFREP Websites, custom design sites made exclusively for residential real estate appraisers. We handle everything in-house, from your new domain and written content to a polished and professional look right here in North Carolina. Setup is free and hosting is only $25 a month or included at no additional cost with the Appraise-It Platinum plan. Launch your online presence today. Visit websites.sfrep.com, email sales@sfrep.com, or call 800-523-0872. SFREP, innovation for the real pro. This September, lenders, AMCs, and the GSEs will begin issuing orders for the new UAD 3.6 Dynamic Report. For a while, both the older UAD 2.6 and the new UAD 3.6 reports will be requested and accepted until the new UAD is fully transitioned to in November of 2026. Most software vendors have chosen to present the Dynamic Report as a new web-based program that collects information in much the same way as TurboTax, a wizard interface. This type of interface collects information, then the user clicks Next, then more information and more Next button presses until the final report is generated at the end. With Appraise-It Pro, you'll build your new dynamic report pretty much the same way you've always built reports, by filling out fields in a representation of the finished printed report. You'll see the report as you build it. We're also building the new dynamic report into the existing Appraise-It Pro program, allowing you access to the new UAD alongside all the existing report types. The tools you use to complete a report also stay the same. Common responses, the comp database, street maps, etc. And third-party services are also working on updating to support the new UAD 3.6 as well. The dynamic nature of the report is at the heart of the new UAD in Appraise-It Pro, featuring date pickers, drop-down menus, and expanding text fields, doing away with the need for extended comments. And as you fill out the report and check checkboxes, the report expands and builds itself automatically. Additionally, the new UAD Dynamic Report will introduce side-by-side comps to Appraise-It Pro, an often requested feature. Interested in learning more? Join us for one of our monthly UAD 3.6 webinars by visiting training.sfrep.com and checking out our training calendar. Or watch previous webinars by visiting our YouTube page at youtube.com/SFREP. The new UAD Dynamic Report in Appraise-It Pro from SFREP. Familiar, easier, and more straightforward. Hey everybody, Matt over at SFREP. Glad you could join us, or join me. There's nobody else here. We're going to be learning today about Appraise-It Pro. Now, we are going to be going over the new UAD, the new dynamic form in Appraise-It Pro, after we go over Appraise-It Pro in general. The reason that this webinar is so important is that you really need to get going on learning Appraise-It Pro, because the new dynamic form is not going to be in Appraise-It Classic, obviously. Hope that's been obvious, but you're going to need to make that transition over to Appraise-It Pro in order to start using them. Now, for those of you, hopefully you guys have been keeping up with the new dynamic UAD 3.6. The date is right there behind me. September 8th of this year is when limited production starts happening. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to start getting UAD 3.6 orders on September 8th. As a matter of fact, you're probably not going to get any until the new year. If you sign up with your lenders and AMCs and tell them that you are able to start doing the new dynamic report, you might start getting them in, I don't know, October, November, maybe. But it's gonna be a slow ramp up. So you've got time, and now is the time to start learning Appraise-It Pro so that you don't have to learn a new software and then learn a new type of report all in one go. Okay? Now, the cool thing about Appraise-It Pro, no extra charge for it. If you're on Appraise-It Classic, you can install Appraise-It Pro right now, start playing around with it, start using it, start migrating over to it. You can start a report in Appraise-It Classic and then move it over to Appraise-It Pro. Appraise-It Pro can also live on your system side by side with Appraise-It Classic. And there's even ways that you can start something in Appraise-It Pro and then go back to Appraise-It Classic if you need to. Now, hopefully you won't have to do that, but there's a way to do it if you need to. Appraise-It Pro, it's mature. It's been out for a while. We released it right around the time of the pandemic. So it's been a good 5 years now that it's been out. So, now is the time to start learning it and moving over to it. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So with that, one thing though, if you've not done one of these webinars with us on YouTube before, down at the bottom, there's going to be, if you're on the desktop or the laptop, the browser version of YouTube, there's going to be a little toolbar when you mouse over the video down at the bottom. The little bracket icon, if you click on that, that is going to make the video go full screen. Everything will be easier for you to see, but just keep in mind you are going to lose the chat, and the chat's very important because I want you guys to be able to ask questions. There is an elongated rectangle icon. If you click on that, it will make YouTube go into theater mode so that the video will take up more of the screen. It'll be easier for you to actually view it and see it, but the chat will still be there. So by default, the chat's going to be over there on the right-hand side. If you go into theater mode, it'll be down at the bottom. All right. So that's all of our housekeeping stuff. I think we're ready to go. If you have any questions while we're doing this, now this webinar is probably going to take us about 40 minutes or so. If you have any questions while we're doing it, please go ahead and ask. I've got it pulled up here in front of me. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. We're going to go ahead and take a look over here at Appraise-It Pro running. When you first start the program, you're going to be in an area that is called the backstage. And the welcome section of that is what you see here. Now, the backstage is laid out very similar to what you would see if you use Microsoft Office. And there's a reason for that. We program Appraise-It Pro in the same development environment as Microsoft Office. It's got that Microsoft design language. So it's very similar to Microsoft Office. So this is going to be a pretty easy transition for you if you've used Office in the past. So over here on the left-hand side, we basically have the file menu. So this would be the equivalent of the file menu that was in Appraise-It Classic. So if I click on this little arrow up here at the top, you'll notice this is the editing area of Appraise-It Pro. I don't currently have a report open. If I did, it would be displayed right here. But to get back to that area, I just click on the file menu there, and it takes me back here. So this is kind of like, they call it the backstage. It's an analogy for, theater kids, I guess. But in reality, it's kind of like a super file menu. So when you first start the program, you're going to be in the welcome area. And this is just a way for us to communicate with you, show you things that you may need to know that we don't necessarily want to bother sending an email out to you, but we want everyone to see it. As long as you're connected to the internet, this will update automatically. We don't update it all too often. You see the last time we updated it was back in February, but this is where we can kind of communicate with you. It's never going to be flashy. There aren't going to be images and videos and advertisements or anything here. It's just kind of informative. Then we have new, which is where you would start a brand new report from. We have open, which this is where you will go to open a report. Don't worry, I'm going to go over all this stuff here in a bit. Search, kind of like the file index in the old Appraise-It Classic. Then we have settings. All your settings are over here. These are all grayed out because I don't currently have a report open right now, and they're not very important anyway because they're duplicated over here under the home menu, so don't worry about these. New window will open up a new instance of Appraise-It Pro, so you can have multiple Appraise-It Pros open at the same time on your computer. That way you can have multiple documents open, so you can copy and paste between them. You can be working on multiple files at one time if you want to be super productive. And then, of course, exit does the same thing as clicking the X in the upper right-hand corner. It's just going to close the program out. So let's jump back over here to new. This is very similar to what you had in the file menu in Appraise-It Classic when you would go to File, New. And this is where you can choose the different report types that you want to start a report from. There are little carrots over here. So let's say if you never do non-lender work, you can click on the little carrot. You can collapse that area so you don't have to see it. And there's also a search up here. So if you do a search for, say, 2055, this will show you all of the different 2055s that are available in Appraise-It Pro. And that includes the UAD 2.6 2055, the Fannie Mae. Now, it'll show up in multiple sections because it applies in multiple sections. So, of course, the same 2055 is also going to show up in the Fannie Mae section, in the Freddie Mac section. The non-lender version of the 2055, those are the SFRAP forms. And then, of course, the legacy forms, these are the pre-2005 forms, the 1997 forms, if you will. We keep those in there for backwards compatibility, and some people still use them for non-lender work as well. Estate stuff, that kind of thing. If you want to see everything again, you just click on the little X, and now you are viewing everything. Now, you will notice in this installation of Appraise-It Pro that I have here, this is the current version 3.6 of Appraise-It Pro, which has been released to everybody. But unless you have contacted us by emailing beta@sfrap.com, you will not see the UAD 3.6 development preview section here. But this is where the UAD 3.6 is. We're going to be dealing today in this webinar with the UAD 2.6, the current UAD. But I will be showing you the UAD 3.6 at the end of this webinar. The key thing you need to take away from here, though, is that the UAD 3.6 is going to be in Appraise-It Pro side by side with the UAD 2.6, with the non-lender forms, with all these different forms. So we don't ever remove forms from Appraise-It Pro. Okay, so you've got all of these backwards compatibility, back compatibility forms that you can use if you need to. The cool thing is there's going to be a lot of overlap over the next year between UAD 2.6 and UAD 3.6. So you'll be able to do both types of reports in the same program. That is not the case with other software providers. With specifically ACI and Bradford, you have to use a whole new program in a completely different paradigm when you're doing UAD 3.6. And all of their older forms are going to be in their old software. So you're going to have to maintain two separate types of software for a while. With us, everything's going to be in Appraise-It Pro. That's why it's important for you to learn Appraise-It Pro now, because then your transition to the UAD 3.6 will be very simple. When you select a specific report type, if you double click here, it is going to open up the default template, which is just a completely blank report for you to start from scratch from. However, if you single click here, over here on the right hand side, you will see all of your templates. Now, if you're coming over from Appraise-It Classic, a template is essentially a skeleton. They are very different under the hood, but the concept is the same. A template and a skeleton accomplish the same thing. And you can see here that I've got templates that I've made up for different cities, but of course you're going to make up templates for different lenders or for neighborhoods or for whatever reason you want. All a template is in Appraise-It Pro is it is a regular report file that has been promoted to template status. So you can open up a blank report, pre-fill out some stuff, add some photos, some scans, whatever you want, some verbiage, some text. And then when you are done, you just simply save it as a template. And I'll show you how that works here in a little while. But once you've got these templates, you can just simply double click on them. Now, if you open up a default template, you want to start something from scratch, this checkbox down here at the bottom is checked by default. And it says include suggested forms in the default template. And what that means is it will open up a template, a blank report essentially, with all of the things that most people are going to need in order to get started. You can uncheck that and it's just going to open up the bare bones report and you can add what you need, but most people are going to want to have this checked. We'll come back to this. For right now, we're going to go to open. Now, open, you probably won't use it for much except for this recent reports list. And this recent reports list, which was also in Appraise-It Classic, this is really handy if you need to go back to a report that you've been working on for, the last, week or so. Maybe you worked on it like 4 days ago. It'll show up in here. And it's just a quick way for you to come in here, grab it, open it up, and not have to worry about, doing a search for it or anything like that. Now over here on the left-hand side, you can manually open a report. You can also just go to it and double click it and it'll open an Appraise-It Pro. Cool thing about Appraise-It Pro is it will open up both regular Appraise-It Pro files. It will also open up Appraise-It Classic files, and it will open up Mismo XML files as if they were regular Appraise-It Pro reports. So all your back reports from Appraise-It Classic are going to be completely compatible in Appraise-It Pro. You can open them up, no problem. And if you have a colleague that uses a different software package, they can send you their Mismo XML file, and then you can open it up as if it was an Appraise-It Pro document. As a matter of fact, we actually distribute Appraise-It Pro as a Mismo XML reader to lenders and AMCs for this exact reason. They can just open up a Mismo XML file and be able to see the contents of it in an easy human readable format. You can also, manually open up a classic report or open up a Mismo document. It doesn't really matter because if you just go to open up a report, any of these, you can open up anything. Now, there's also Open Template and Open Classic Skeleton. You probably will never use Open Template because if you need to open it up, you can just go to the new section and open it from there. However, Open Classic Skeleton, this you may use because we do not automatically convert Appraise-It Classic skeletons into templates in Appraise-It Pro for you. We did very early on, but we got feedback from people saying they really didn't want that to happen because a lot of people have a lot of old templates from way back when, and it was converting everything over, and then they had to go in there and delete them and clean them out. The other reason is we want you to make fresh new templates because one, they're going to be fresh new templates, and two, by creating those templates, you're going to learn how Appraise-It Pro works. But we do understand that you may have some skeletons that were really complex, really verbose, and you want to convert those over. So you can open up those skeletons from here, clean them up, and then save them as templates. And we have a video on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/SFREP, or you can just do a search from YouTube on how to do this. If you have any questions on how to do this, you can also just contact our tech support or email me training@sfrep.com. Matter of fact, if you are watching this video after the fact, or if you're a little shy and you want to ask a question, always you can email me directly, training@sfrep.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Search. This is very similar to the file index in Appraise-It Classic. And if you type out a search term, what this is it's an exclusionary search, okay? Meaning the more things you fill out here, the more narrow and targeted your search results are going to be, okay? So if I just type in here, Charlotte, and I do a search, I'm going to get a lot of results. In this case, I'm only getting 3 results because I don't do appraisals on this computer. This is for testing purposes. But if you did it and you lived in Charlotte and that was your market, then you would have a ton of appraisal reports. So that's not enough for you to be able to find something. So we need to give it some more information. So maybe we give it 28226. We give it another zip code. Now I do a search and I get 1 result. Of course, you're going to get a lot of results still, so you're going to need to give it even more information. So I could come up here and I could do 109, and notice that it is auto-filling in for me. So if I know the address, I can start typing it, and bam, it's going to auto-fill it for me. Now I do a search. I get 1 result here. I can just simply double-click this to open it up, or I can single-click on it and see a front view photo with some pertinent details to make sure I know that this is the right one that I'm looking for. And then I can click on Open Report here or double-click here. You can also open the work file. What the work file is it is a folder, a standard Windows folder in Appraise-It Pro that gets linked to this report. And you can dump, if I open up the work file here, you can see this is the work file for that particular report. I've just got some just dummy photos in here. I'm a big aviation guy, so that's why you see a lot of airplanes here. But I could dump in here anything. I could put, extra PDFs that I had that I want to keep associated with this report. Anything and everything can be dumped in here, additional photos. And that way, if you ever come back to this report, like I dumped this stuff in here 2 years ago. So I can come back to this report and I can see all the stuff that I had put in there. Then I could zip it up and send it to somebody, or I could print it out, or, for a court case or whatever, throw it onto a flash drive if I need to. Now, let me clear this by clicking the clear button here, and I'm just going to do a blank search. Now, if you did this in your Appraise-It Pro, you would have a ton of files listed here. And you're thinking, oh, wait a minute, I'm not using Appraise-It Pro. There wouldn't be anything listed in here. There actually would be, because when you first install Appraise-It Pro and you first run it and you do that first run, what it's going to do is it's going to go through all of your old Appraise-It Classic files, if you have them, and it's going to start indexing them. If you're coming over from another software vendor, what we can do is we can put all of your old Mismo XML files into a subfolder, and it will go and it'll start crawling through all of those and indexing them. It's one of the reasons why we tell you when you first get Appraise-It Pro, I would recommend opening it up and leaving it open for like overnight, or leave it open over the weekend so that it can accomplish this. Now, if you close it out and come back to it and open it up again, it'll pick up where it left off. But to let it do that full index, I would give it like 1 or 2 nights where you just leave your computer on with Appraise-It Pro open and let it do its thing. And if I select one of these, you'll see that I see the front view photo, just so I can know that I have the right one. And if I scroll out here to the right, you can see all the different data that the search, that the index is storing about each of your appraisal reports. Now, this is fully customizable. I can click on the trash can icon. Let's say I'm only registered, or I'm only licensed, let's say or certified in North Carolina. So I'm never going to be selecting a different state. I can click on the little trash can icon, say yes, and get rid of that. If I want to add that back in at some point, I can come over here to add field, come back down here and do state, select it. There it is. And then I can use these little arrows here to put it back where it was. But this is totally customizable, so you can have all of this in any order that you want. And then finally, we have settings. Now, I generally recommend, for those of you who are a little bit technology shy, I wouldn't come into settings and start messing around. Excuse me. Unless you have one of our tech support people on the line with you. But for those of you who do like to tinker around, you can come in here to settings and you can change almost everything about Appraise-It Pro. The colors that it uses, the way that common responses are handled, all this stuff, you can make some changes. Now, if you do come in here and make changes, I do recommend that you use a, like a Post-it note or something. Make some notes about what you changed. That way, if you don't like the results, you know exactly where to come back in here and change it back. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and let's get into the meat and potatoes here. I'm going to come back up here to New. I'm going to go under UAD 2.6 and I'm going to select the standard 1004 and I'm going to double click here so that it opens up a blank 1004 so that we can easily see what we're doing here. And this is it. And you'll notice that it looks very similar to either the software that you are moving over from to SFRAP, and if that's the case, welcome. But if you're coming over from our older software, Appraise-It Classic, this is also going to look very familiar. Now, the colors are different. And the colors do mean something, and I'll go over that here in a second. As a matter of fact, let me switch this to the regular default view. There we go. The colors are different, and the colors are kind of detailed down here at the lower right-hand corner. We'll go over that here in a minute. But you have your editing area, just like you did in Appraise-It Classic or whatever software you're coming from. And then the way that we do things here are with panels. Now, if you're coming over from Appraise-It Classic, you're going to be familiar with the panel architecture, because we introduced that in Appraise-It Classic back in the first UAD to help you with all of those abbreviations and filling out these fields. We've kind of taken that concept and ran with it in Appraise-It Pro. There are now 4 panels that are visible. There is the report panel, the validator panel, the responses panel, and the format panel. There's a 5th panel there that's actually hidden, and that's the help panel. I'll go over that here in a little bit, but it's tabbed over here underneath responses. Now, for those of you who are moving over from Appraise-It Classic, the most important thing that you need to know is this report panel, because it is the biggest difference in concept from Appraise-It Classic to Appraise-It Pro. So definitely pay attention to what I'm about to show you here in the next few minutes. With Appraise-It Classic, You started a report and you built it as you went along by filling out things that were under the contents menu. And then when you were done, you actually built the report to deliver it. So you assembled everything, put it in the order that you wanted, used print schemes, all that jazz. In Appraise-It Pro, the concept's a little bit different. If you're moving over from another software package, this is going to be second nature to you because you've already been doing this. But for those of you coming over from Classic, here is the big difference between Classic and Pro. In Appraise-It Pro, you are going to build your report at the beginning and as you go along. So this report panel is essentially your table of contents. Do not put things into here that you are not going to be using in the final report. What do I mean by that? Let's say that you do not need a flood map for this particular appraisal. Then you need to get rid of it. So come over here, you select the flood map, you click on remove up at the top, you say yes, get it out of there. When you are done with the report, you only want things in the report that are filled out and that you used. And here's the big reason for that. If you come back to this report a week later, a month later, 3 months later, you will be able to look at this report panel here and know exactly what you put into this report and what was delivered to your client. So it's very important for you to keep this area tidy. Now you can move these things around and you can build your report whenever you want. If you're halfway through the report and you're like, oh, you know what? I really like having my location map at the very beginning of the report. Click on the location map and then drag it up to the top. And there it is. There's your location map. Now, let's say you got to add something. I'm going to use the COVID form. We don't use it anymore, but it's just easy to kind of find it and put it in there. So let's say I wanted to put the COVID form in there. So I'm going to come up here, click on add, and this is going to bring up the add remove forms dialog box, the window here. And there's a search here. What I can do is I can just search in, type in COVID. There's my COVID desktop addendum. To move this over, I can double click it and it'll be added down into the end automatically. But what I can do, this right here under report, this is a duplication of what's over here. Okay. So what I can do is I can just simply click and drag it. And maybe I want to put it after the sketch. Or if I wanted it before the sketch, I could click and drag it up. When I'm done, click on save and close. And then it gets added in exactly where I said, which is right above the sketch. And then of course, if I want to get rid of it, I can click on remove, say yes, and now it's gone. In that same vein, if I come up here to add, and this right now is a 1004. If by default, it is selecting to search through addenda, but I can also come up here and search through primary. So let's say that I wanted to convert this let's say I wanted to convert this 1004 into a 1073. You probably wouldn't do that unless you made a mistake or something. But here's the 1073. If I want to change this to a 1073, all I have to do is click and drag this over. And it's going to say, adding this form will replace your report's primary form and its dependent forms. Do you want to proceed? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to save and close. And now it's going to take it a second because what it's doing here, oh, and it crashed. I am using a beta version of Appraise-It Pro, so that's why it crashed. But what it will do there? Yes, I want to bring that back up. I'm gonna have to report that after this webinar. But what would have happened there is it will change it from a 1004 into a 20. What was it? A 10. What was it again? Condominium form, I think, is what I did. Yeah, the 1073. So it would convert it into a 1073. Now, in your version of Appraise-It Pro, that will work just fine. This is a test version of Appraise-It Pro, so it crashed, so don't worry about that. Finally, over here on the left-hand side, you'll notice that there are some icons here. And these icons, they mean something. So the star icon, that is the star of the show. That is your primary report type. In this case, it is a 1004 still. The lock icon means that particular addendum is required for the proper operation of the report. So it can't be removed. So that's why it has a lock icon. It's got to be in there. Now, you don't have to send it or print it, but it needs to be in there for everything to work properly. And then you'll notice that some of these have a green plus sign. If I click on that plus, what it's going to do is it's going to add additional of whatever that is. So that's the sales comparables 4 through 6. If I click a plus, it's going to add sales comp 7 through 9, and it's going to do sales comp photos 7 through 9. Click it again, it's going to add 10 through 12 and sales comp photos 10 through 12. And then if you need to get rid of it, you just select it and click on remove. And some of these you can do that with. Some of them you can't. Like, you can't add additional flood maps in, but you can add regular maps in by, going to add. The other thing I want to show you here is, see how this says general photos 3 per page, legal sized? So that's a 3 per page legal document. If I want to add photos in here, I can just simply double click. And I can go to pictures and go to house photos, and I can do a house photo in there. There we go. That's all you got to do to add photos. Now, if you have been using the image manager or the comp manager to add your photos, you can most certainly still do that, but you can also just simply double click and browse it in. I can then right click here, I can say clear, and I can get rid of it. But let's say that I used this addendum to add some additional, actually, you know what? I don't want to use that one. I want to use this one. This one's the 6 per page legal sized. So let's say I filled this up with some additional photos of the garage because they have a really cool garage and I want to, show that. What I can do here is I can select it in the list in the report panel here, and I can click on rename, and I can say, oops, 6 up. This is a printing term. I used to work in the printing industry. And so I'm going to say 6 up, which means that there's 6 per page. And we'll do 3 by 5 so that I know that there are 3 by 5 aspect ratio photos. Hit OK. And there we go. The cool thing about this now is that I know just by glancing at this that these are the garage photos. So if I come back to this report 3 weeks from now, I immediately know that that's what those are, and I don't have to sit there and open it up to see what they were. By the way, you may have noticed that when I'm opening up addenda here, that they're opening up here at the top as a tab. Just like in your web browser, you can have multiple tabs open. You can even click and drag these tabs out, and you could put them on a different monitor if you wanted to. That way you could have, if you got like I know a lot of people have the portrait-oriented monitors, the ones that will rotate. And so you could put part of your report over there, part of your report on the landscape-oriented monitors, that kind of stuff. And if you want to put that, you can put that back in. You just simply click and pop it right back in there. You can also do that, by the way, with these panels. You can pull them out and you can put them elsewhere. You can stack them. You can put tabs on them, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in doing that, contact our tech support. They can show you how that works. I also go over it in our kind of part 2 to this webinar where we go a little bit more in depth on how to use Appraise-It Pro. But the reason I want to show you this right now is when you're monkeying around with this, you might do something like this and you're like, uh-oh, this is crazy. What the heck did I just do? If you get into this situation, you can always just come back over here to the view menu, click on reset to default, say yes. It'll put everything back the way it was factory default. Okay. And by the way, of course, you can close your tabs up here by just clicking the little X. It doesn't remove it from the report. It's just closing it. Just like when you close a web browser tab, it's not removing that page from the internet. You're just not looking at it any longer. All right. That's the report panel. If you have any questions, let me know. That is the main thing that you really need to know when you're moving over from Classic to Pro. And knowing how that works is going to make everything so much easier for you when you're making that transition over. So if you have any problems or questions, contact tech support, ask me now, or of course, fire off an email to me, training@sfrep.com. I'll give you my telephone number here at the end as well, so you can text me. Don't call, because if you call, I'm probably not going to answer. I'm very busy usually, especially with the UAD 3.6 stuff. I just got back from Austin, Texas. I'm flying out to Las Vegas on Saturday. It's crazy, but I do respond to text messages, and you can text me at that number. I'll give you that here at the end of the webinar. Okay. Next panel. Now we're going to burn through the rest of these I spend a lot of time on the report panel. I'm not going to spend as much time on the rest of this. The validator, very similar to the validator you had in Appraise-It Classic. The validator is doing two things. It is doing real-time validation. The easiest way to see how real-time validation works is for me to type in NC in the state and tab out. It's happy with that. Nothing happened. Now, if I've got a fat finger and I type in BC instead of NC, now it turns red. And if I happen to be in a different part of the report and I notice over here that there's a red X right here and it says hard stop state, I can go, well, what's that about? I can single click on it and it'll tell me state must be a valid 2-character US state abbreviation example NC. So now if I double click this, it'll jump back to that particular field and like, oh, okay, I'm a bonehead. Look what I did. You know, BC is a Canadian province. It's not a US state. So I can just go back in there and I can type in NC and now it's happy. And it goes away from down here in the lower left and it's no longer red. And this works for, I know we've got customers in Puerto Rico. We've got one customer in Guam. That works. Got a couple of customers in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So VI works. So, you know, it does, it checks for that stuff. But when you go in there and you do SK, that's Saskatchewan, that's not going to work. Now, that is the real-time validation. Because you want a regular. There we go. Oh, there we go. Now, that's the real-time validation. That's also going to, you know, check your formatting for your various abbreviations for the UAD that you're doing. It's going to check as you go along. The other type of validation is the comprehensive validation, and you will invoke that by clicking on the validate button. Now, I'm not going to do that right now because it's going to freak out because this report is empty and it's going to flag every single field. Don't do that. Don't hit that validate button until you're pretty much done with the report. And what it's going to do is it's going to crawl through your report, check your math, check your spelling, check everything, and it will highlight things that you need to change. Okay? That is very important for the new UAD, the old UAD. Not as big of a thing in the new UAD, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. There's also two rule sets. There is the UCDP, which is the regular UAD rule set, and then there's also FHA. They're almost identical. There's a couple of small little differences, but the thing I want you to know is that if you leave this on FHA, make sure that before you do your validation that you change your rule set back for whatever rule set you want for this particular report. So just always double check what this rule set is. Most of the time you're going to be doing UCDP, but you know, FHA is there if you're doing an FHA appraisal. The next panel is the responses panel. I love the responses panel. It's one of my favorite things about what they did with Appraise-It Pro. It does also make the jump over to the new UAD as well. And the way responses work is we don't have that F key bar up at the top any longer, but we do have this little panel. So I'm going to come in here to city, and you can see I've already created a bunch of different responses for city. How do I use them? Well, there's the obvious. I can double click here and it'll fill in Charlotte. Or you can see here that I have assigned Charlotte to the F4 key, because you can do that in Appraise-It Pro just like you did in Classic. Hit F4, it's going to put in there Charlotte. I can also hit the F2 key on my keyboard and then use my arrow keys to select it from the list. Or, and this is my favorite way, I can just start typing CH and it's going to autofill Charlotte for me, and then I can just tab out. That autofill can really save you a lot of time. Because remember, you can do responses for multi-line fields. So you just have to start typing out the first few letters of whatever it is that you know that you want to put in there, and it will just autofill it for you. And you can really burn through a report doing that. Just CH tab, in tab, 28 tab. Like, you can just really start burning through a report that way. Now, how do you create one of these responses? Let's see. I need a suburb of Charlotte, Cramerton. We'll do Cramerton. So do Cramerton. I think that's how you spell it. So there's Cramerton. Now I want to add that. I come over here to manage responses, click on the little plus icon. I can give it a title if I want. That I would only do if you have a multi-line, like a couple of paragraphs in here. But for a single word response, I don't need to do that. And I could assign it to an F key if I need to as well. I'm not going to do that this time though. I'm just going to click on save. Now I'm going to click close, and then there's Cramerton. And now I can start typing CR, and it's going to know I mean Cramerton, tab out. If I want to get rid of Cramerton, just select it, click on delete response, say yes, it's gone. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now remember, I did tell you about that hidden panel, that hidden fifth panel, and that is the help panel. It's not that important for you guys. You guys have been doing these reports for a very long time. But if you do have a trainee, they might find this very helpful. So they can click on the help panel. It's tabbed down here at the bottom. And there is help text for every single field in here. So if you got trainees, this can be very helpful to them. There will be information for every single one of these fields in the report. But by default, it's showing responses. Now, format panel. Format panel is very straightforward. This is the same as the UAD panel in Appraise-It Classic, or whatever your UAD pop-up or drop-down or interface or whatever you had for whatever software you're using, a la mode or ACI or Bradford or whatever. This is the same thing, okay? So real simple. It works the same way as well. So if I come down here to the grid, I can start typing in things or start selecting these. Now, remember, if I'm not in a field, it's just going to show this color key. Green means it's a formatted field, and then blue means it's an inactive field. So if I select one of the green fields, then I'm going to have a format over here on the side. Now, because you guys have been doing UAD 2.6 for so long, you guys know how all of this stuff is by heart. You can type directly into the field if you want, but if you tab out and you don't use the correct format, it is going to turn it red. So if you don't know what the formatting is, you can come over here and you can do it and then click on apply, just like you did in Appraise-It Classic. Let's see. I think that's, the one other thing I do want to show you here is auto shrinking text. That is something that is not in Appraise-It Classic, and I absolutely love it. So in now this is UAD 2.6. You only have the amount of space that the report gives you, the printed version of the report gives you. So I can type in Cramerton twice. If I need to type in Cramerton 3 times, which, why would you do that in the city field? This is just for demonstration purposes. So I start typing. Notice the text gets smaller. Now, it will only go to a certain extent. If I keep typing Cramerton, now it's going to run off the side. So it only goes so small. But you can see that can be a game changer, especially down here in these multi-line fields where you're trying to put a couple of extra, like an extra sentence in there. You can easily fit another extra sentence in there because it's going to keep shrinking all of the text in that field. And then you can avoid having to trip over to extended comments just for one or maybe two short sentences. Up here at the top, this is our menuing system. This is very familiar. If you use Microsoft Office, this will look very familiar to you. It's called a ribbon bar. So you go to one of the menus here, and instead of there being a pull-down menu like you had in Appraise-It Classic, you have a series of icons. So basically, you get a toolbar for every single menu selection here. Now, the one I want to go over here is support. Now, a lot of these menu items are very similar to what you had in Appraise-It Classic. So services are your online tools, and then tools are your offline tools. So these are the things that will work without an internet connection: your comp manager, image manager, your databases, your Apex, your sketching, all that kind of stuff. And then just like in Appraise-It Classic, you have your orders menu here. What I do want to highlight here is going to be the support tab. Here, there's a couple of things. You can do a what's new and read all about what's new in various different iterations of Appraise-It Classic, or Appraise-It Pro rather. You can check service statuses. This right here is the same as this down here at the bottom. This is a feature of Appraise-It Pro that you don't have in Classic. And this is real time. If you're connected to the internet, real time, this is checking the status of our servers. So if there is a problem with the mapping services, or with, I don't know, or even I'll give you a good example. About 2 months ago, we had some problems with our phone system when we were doing our transition to a new provider. This turned yellow because it wasn't down, but we were having problems with it. So that's why it would turn yellow. If it turns red, that means that's completely down, and you can click on this to get a little bit more information, and you can double click, or excuse me, you can use the little, you can click here, this little pull-up that comes up, and it will open up status.sfrep.com. Now you can go here even if you don't have Appraise-It Pro to see what the status is of all of our different services, all of our different servers. Everything's up right now, it usually is, but you can always see what's going on there. Under here, I do want you I do want to point out remote assistance and remote assistance web-based. You can email tech support from here. You can also chat with tech support. Here's our knowledge base, so you can get little articles and videos on stuff. Here's our socials over here on the right-hand side, including the SFREP blog and our website. And then our API documentation, which doesn't really apply to you guys. Let's see. I think that is everything that I want to cover in this. Now, if you are watching this video after the fact, or if you came in late, you are welcome to just simply go back to the beginning. This is a YouTube video, so you can just scroll right back to the beginning and rewatch this. You can also use that email to send it to other people, and they can click on the link in the email. It'll take them to this video, and it's automatically archived, so they'll be able to rewatch it. So if you are watching one of these rewatches, feel free to email me directly if you have any questions, training@sfrep.com. But for those of you who are here live, I do encourage you to go ahead and use the chat here if you're signed into YouTube and ask any questions that you might have. Let's see here. Now, of course, if you need immediate assistance, you're going to want to contact our tech support directly. 7 days a week, 800-644-4051, or you can email them directly, tech@sfrep.com. Now, I told you I was going to give you my direct telephone number. How many of our competitors will do that? I'm going to give you my direct telephone number, but I'm not going to put it up on the screen because that's a good way for me to start getting a ton of spam calls. But I'm going to give it to you. So if you want to write it down, get your pen and paper ready. I do encourage you to contact me, but text me. That's always the best way to get in touch with me. Even after hours, I'll often reply. But if you try calling me, it'll go to voicemail. I'll call you back, but usually I'm pretty busy and I won't actually just pick up the phone and answer it. Got a lot going on right now. 800, area code 828-919-9082. That's 828-919-9082. Now, for those of you who just were interested in learning about Appraise-It Pro and you've got to get on out of here because of time, going to cut you loose. For those of you who want to see a little preview of the new UAD in Appraise-It Pro, stick around. I'm going to show it to you right now, okay? All right. So, cool thing about Appraise-It Pro, the UAD 2.6 and the UAD 3.6 are in here together. So I'm going to come over here, come to home, say close. Do I want to save the current report? No, I don't. And now I've closed it out. Now, if I come back over here to new, notice here now, if you want to play around with the new UAD, what you need to do is you need to email beta@sfrep.com, beta@sfrep.com. You'll have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and then we will turn on Appraise-It Pro. We'll turn on the new UAD for you in the software. You've already got it. It's actually technically in your current version. We just need to turn it on. So you won't even have to, you really just close Appraise-It Pro and then open it back up, unless you haven't upgraded to 3.6 yet, or 3.5, excuse me. But once you have that turned on, you'll see UAD 3.6 development preview. Now, hopefully you guys have been doing your CE about the new UAD 3.6. If you have been, then you will know this already, but there are only 3 report types now. Everything else gets replaced. There is the actual report, not a form, it's a report now. There's the dynamic report, and then there's also a completion report and an update report. So 3 report types is all there is. So I'm going to double click here to open up the URAR, the new dynamic URAR, and here it is. This is it. It looks very similar to what you were doing before in UAD 2.6. You've got your report panel, you got your validator panel. The format panel, I believe, is probably going to go away. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it right now. And then you've got your responses. Everything looks very similar. There are some key differences though. Of course, there's a lot of differences in the amount of information that you're going to have to collect out in the field. But when you come back or in the field, you use your laptop, this is how you're going to fill it out. We have chosen to display the new UAD 3.6 to you in the same way that you've been filling out reports for decades. ACI and Bradford and Freedom Appraise and the others out there, they chose to go a different route where they are going to be doing a web-based kind of like TurboTax, where you start filling out some information, you click next, you fill out some more information, you click next, and then it generates the report for you at the end. We wanted to make sure that this transition was as easy as possible for you guys. And so what we chose to do, and in fairness, a la mode is doing the same thing. We chose to show the new report to you so that you're going to fill it out as a graphical representation of the PDF version of the report. Okay. So this looks very similar to the final product, that the human readable version of the UAD 3.6. Just like before, you got your report panel over here at the side. Now, there is a difference here in that you cannot move this stuff around because the format is set in stone. You cannot say, I want to put my sketch at the beginning. Nope. It needs to be in the same place no matter what software somebody's using and no matter what type of report it is. The sketch is always going to be in that same spot. But if I want to fill out, let's say, now this is a blank report. Nothing is filled out in here right now. Let's say I want to start filling out a cost approach. I can come down here and double click on cost approach. And look at this. All that's here is it just says cost approach, yes or no. Currently no is checked. If I want to add a cost approach, I click on yes, and then boom, the cost approach fills in and you can start filling it out. The new UAD 3.6 is very heavy on pull down menus and it's very heavy in checkboxes. Now there are narrative sections like right here, reconciliation of site value. All I'm going to do here is just some demo text just to show you. Obviously, this is not what you're going to type in there. But I'm going to just paste it in there. And they're like, okay, well, I can get 3 sentences in there. That's cool. No, you just keep typing. Keep typing. There are no additional addenda. No text addenda. Because you don't need them. All you need to do is you just keep typing. And then these text fields will grow to whatever size they need to be. And then at the very end, when this gets printed to a PDF, it will properly, span these across multiple pages if need be. And the cool thing is that all the text fields are like this. So if you are showing, let's close out of this. Let me go close this. I'm going to open up an example report here so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, this one. This is a single family residential version. As you keep typing, let's say that you had, let's see, where's if you had a photo sales, the thing is, there's no photos in it either because the photos are basically inline. So sales comparables. And by the way, side-by-side comps, been asked for years. We now have them. And we're going to backport this over to the UAD 2.6 as well. We can add additional comparables here. If I want to add in a photo, I double click here, put in the photo. There it is. And you only need one photo for the comparable. So they don't want as many photos. You're not going to have to take as many photos, which is kind of good news. I know a lot of you love photos, and that's fine. And you can add in additional photos if you need to. Let's say if there was a photo you needed to add because some of the siding was damaged and that's going to affect the value and you need to say this needs to be fixed or whatever, or this is how you'd fix it. When you add that in line in that particular section of the report that's talking about siding, if you add a photo there, it will also add in a text box there that you can type out what you need to say about that. Now, you can still add additional addenda in there. Like if you wanted to add a text addenda in there, just understand that it's not going to be included in the XML of the report. It will be included as a JPEG image. So if you put in some PDF in there, it's going to get converted to images and it'll be in there as images. But the GSEs, they've designed this so that hopefully you're not going to have to, include PDFs like that. They want it to be as succinct as possible. Now, I very much encourage all of you to go do your CE, however you do your CE, whether it's online or if you're going to be going to one of the shows. I just got back from the Texas Association of Appraisers show or meeting that was in Austin. Well, it was in Georgetown, Texas, which is just north of Austin. Just got back from there 2 days ago. And so I flew back Saturday, and then this Saturday, I'm flying out to Las Vegas for Valuation Expo. It's still not too late. You can still sign up for Valuation Expo and go next week, or you can go in August to Appraisal Summit. They're both going to be doing tons of CE, and everything is going to be about the new UAD 3.6. So I encourage you to go to those, make a little vacation out of it, or go to your local meeting of your appraisal association in your state. I'm going to the one for North Carolina in CPAC in Asheville, like October 1st. It's like literally the next day after we get back from Appraisal Summit. So there's ample opportunity for you to do CE. Now, if you want, you can also go to, and let me pull it up here for you guys. And I think I was showing myself instead of this, so I want you to see this. If I want to add a photo in here, I can add it in that way. Sorry about that. Sometimes it's a one-man band here. I'm having to switch video and everything on my own. Now, what I want to do is, let me pull up a web page here. So we're going to go to what is it? Oh, I forget what the web's. Hold on. It's single family. Okay, here it is. It's fanniemae.com/UAD, and it'll take you here. And then this is the UAD 3.6. If you scroll down, getting started with UAD 3.6, they have they have all the appendix here, and then they also have like a self-paced online, thing to teach you all about the new UAD. So this is a great resource. I highly recommend that everybody actually go in there and check it out. Do any of you have any questions at all? If you do, go ahead and put them into the chat down there. Otherwise, I want you to reach out to me. You can either reach out to tech at sfrep.com. If you have questions about the new UAD 3.6, though, email me directly, training@sfrep.com. And remember, you can text me directly, area code 828-919-9082. 828-919-9082. Don't have any questions, so we're coming up on an hour. For those 13 of you that stuck with me for the hour, thank you so much. I hope you learned something, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. If you are going to Valuation Expo, Remington Jones, our CEO, and myself will both be there in our booth. Come by, say hi. You can pick up one of our cord burritos. I posted about it on the Facebook group. We're gonna have some goodies for you to check out. We hope to see you there. We'll also be at Appraisal Summit. We'll be at NCPAC in October, and we're going to be at AXE in Seattle in the spring, in April. So there's another opportunity for you to get some CE in. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care, stay cool, and drive safe when you're out there doing your inspections. We'll see you later.